What is this music I'm playing right now? I'm here to talk about Cowboy Bebop, and Cowboy Bebop requires the... Yeah, that's the stuff right there. I'll probably get a copyright ding for it, but you know what? Worth it. Anime always gets dinged anyway, so why not head over to Patreon and show me just a little bit of love. Cowboy Bebop is a massively popular 26-episode anime series from 1998 that would later go on to have an animated film in 2001. Its intro would later in life inspire the intro for the hit series Archer, and Hollywood has been trying to get an adaptation off the ground for the last 20 years. Also, Keanu Reeves was going to be the lead at one point, and my life now has no meaning and is completely empty for what could have been. Now, normally, I would be against a Western adaptation of Eastern cartoons that I enjoy. The track record for such things being, not so great. And Bebop is anime royalty, a crown jewel, once-in-a-generation affair. Absolute top tier, S-class for my weeb brothers and sisters and everything in between. But it's also a bit of a special case. The series breaks down into a Western sci-fi noir borrowing its cues heavily from both Hollywood movies and American music in general, making its potential for a Hollywood adaptation more promising than most. And besides, Detective Pikachu is pretty dang alright, you know? So, whatever, let's just do it. Let's go! But either way, come November 19th, 2021, Netflix will release a 10-part live-action adaptation of the legendary anime, for which we now have our first look, and personally, it looks pretty great. John Cho seems to be nailing the king of cool that is Spike. I'm also really liking Mustafa Shakir as Jet, especially once I noticed he has his little eye thing. I love it. And Daniela Pineda? Looks great. Faye is the kind of character you can't exactly translate one-to-one from cartoon to real life, but I'm digging the direction this is going in. Besides, sass and skin didn't define Faye. It was her attitude, story, and the fact that she was the only character that really grew and changed over the course of the show that made her so great. Also, Daniela recently posted an Instagram story that definitely captured the attitude and energy of Faye to an F, and she definitely didn't upset anyone in doing so. Not a single person. Not one. Trust me, we'll get to it. But honestly, a great Bebop adaptation is kinda what the world needs right now. So I'm all for putting this show back in the zeitgeist. Cowboy Bebop is the story of broken people in the future stuck in their past, coming together to form a found family of bounty hunters, or cowboys as the profession is called in universe. Also beautifully animated shootouts and martial arts fights. Cannot forget those. Like, so good! And this proto-Firefly of barely connected planet-hopping space adventures is set in a universe ruined by unchecked capitalism. Or more specifically, it's a universe where mankind's expansion to the stars blew up the moon because the company making the space freeway wanted to save a few bucks. Now, the Earth wasn't rendered completely uninhabitable, but it is constantly pelted by meteors no one can really do much about. So most people hopped in spaceships and used the space freeway that destroyed the Earth to escape the Earth. Even during the events of the show some 50 years later, the very thing that destroyed a planet and robbed mankind of their home is still the best way to stay connected and travel between planets. One of the very first things we see in the show is the Bebop and her crew paying the toll to use this space freeway. It's not a shiny future, not at all. It's a dirty one, where the police are corrupt and ineffective, leaving law enforcement to gig workers who can barely afford the beef in their bell peppers and beef, while the rich spend absurd amounts of money on sea rats that taste terrible because society dictated they were fancy. The curse of Bebop, for both the characters and the world at large, is nostalgia, being shackled by their past. Mankind still allows the systems and people responsible for the destruction of our home to run our lives. The show has serious, it's easier to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism vibes, and I am here for it. While all the characters minus one are bitter and detached as their past traumas run their lives. Too busy smoking, putting on facades, and making bad decisions to ever really make it big or move past their issues.
Well, whatever happens, happens.
One of the later episodes literally ends with the characters stuffing their faces instead of simply dealing with the emotions inherent to change. Because change is scary. Growth can be hard. There's comfort in repetition, especially in the face of trauma. How often do we seek out the new in our times of need, and how often do we seek out the familiar? Humans are creatures of habit. Some do manage to escape this, but not all of us. And that need, that drive to hold on to the familiar, that fear of change, that same curse of nostalgia is why the online discussion about this Cowboy Bebop reboot isn't about any of the cool things I've been talking about, but instead about Daniela Pineda not wearing an anime-accurate costume. No, I'm not kidding. The internet is a frontier, less bloody than the Old West and yet angrier and more vicious. It's the only place anywhere on Earth where something can be called everything wrong with insert movie here can make it big, but also where something called everything great about insert movie here can be viewed as a novel concept. Positivity and thoughtfulness can be a legitimate breath of fresh air on YouTube, with aggression and immediateness being overly abundant. And the form that's taking in response to Cowboy Bebop is the aforementioned costume choice. And I'm not going to sit here and humor the outrage that's been stirred up about the clothes this lovely woman will be wearing, nor am I going to accuse anyone angry about the clothes of being sexist or anything like that. Now that's too easy, and shallow a read on the situation in general. So instead I'm going to go at it through the lens of Cowboy Bebop itself, a story where the only character with a happy ending is the one who doesn't let their past burden them or affect their present. Boom! Got him! Anyway, a little known fact about Bebop, it began when a toy company wanted to sell toy spaceships to kids. So they commissioned an original anime to be made about people with cool spaceships. The production team was even told they could do pretty much whatever they wanted as long as it had iconic spaceships. The pitch would be turned down though, but eventually picked up without the need to sell merchandise. And the rest is history. Sometimes you just gotta let something be what the people making it want it to be. And don't get me wrong, Netflix's Cowboy Bebop could be a garbage fire. That's entirely within the cards. But if it is, it won't be because of a wardrobe decision. Its success is going to be determined by its tone, its music, its writing, directing, acting, editing, camera work, and of course, action. Also, how much screen time the doggo gets. So who watching this knows Cowboy Bebop? Are you a fan? Are you excited for the new show? Or do you think all of this because of a few photographs is dumb? Whatever you got, let's talk about it down below. Please, give me a shout. Hey, and if you're new around here, why not subscribe? And if you support me on Patreon too, I will personally cook you bell peppers and beef with that beef.